Hi. So I've decided I'll keep the recording short tonight. It's been a long day. I didn't get much time to work on this. I just want to clear some things up. First of all, I was wrong about the reset not working and not resetting part of the GUI. It actually and let me show that off. Let's see. Let's just change give to give one. And let's recompile this. Oh, I wanted to the number tab here, make tentacle. And now if we do see, it actually does work. So the reason it didn't work is quite simple actually. So this is kind of like in old DOS scripts, in old batch scripts where you had to define, if you had a user input, you also had to define this Y, and that's basically a relic from this time. So you have to define a default. I think N would work as well, but Y is the standard default. So that is basically it. So as you can see, I've drawn a work in progress, basically, very much work in progress sprite here. It's not yet done. There's obviously no animation. I'm actually having a friend of mine look at animation because I'm not very good with animating things and drawing them from the side. I can draw things from the front, potentially the back as well, but side things is it's tough for me for some reason. I'm a programmer. I'm not an artist originally, even though some of my work is decent, I'd say. Yeah, done all of this by myself, so I'd say done a pretty good job for it. Whoops. So that was that. So the way I've set up the box here, the bounding box for moving, obviously I'm lacking a screen, and I set up a bounding box that just goes around the entire screen, including the verb interface. Normally you wouldn't do that. The verb interface I've also sort of refactored. It's a bit smaller now. I've actually got it compressed to let me see, 48. Yeah, I think originally it was 56. I've got it compressed to 48. Um, Still lacking 8 pixels. And actually, the thing is, you have to do it in 8 pixel in 8 pixel height limitations. So I can't just reduce it by 2 more pixels, which would be ideal to be honest. I have to do it by 8 more. So that'll be a bit tough. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pixels. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. That's the entire box up there. Obviously, I can't quit out the box because I need that box for the actual verbs that are shown, because otherwise it's going to be inconvenient. Um, so, gonna be a bit tough. I think about getting rid of 4 on top, maybe. And then I would have to render this text smaller. We'll have to see, I guess. We'll kind of have to see how I'll do that. And right now, if I change that, we'll do an export here. Export as bitmap. Yes. And we recompile all of this. And as you can see, it's pretty much vacating the entire area. So the text is pretty much the entire height. So either I'm making the text smaller. I actually changed the font for that already to have less space, because this font actually requires more space than this text or vertical space at least. So either have to make the text smaller or have an additional font that is smaller. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll have an additional font that is based on this one but smaller. But yeah, I can't make it too small. I really want to get it into 180, to 320 by 180, because right now it's still 320 by 200, which is a 4x3 format. Contrary to popular belief, I know there's like websites saying it's 16 by 10. No, 320 by 200 is 4 by 3. And the pixels are just different aspect ratio. That's why they're there. Last time I wasn't sure, but this time I'm pretty sure they're higher than they're wider. So yeah, it's not 16 by 10. It's actually by 3. Anyhow, so that's about that. And so this is not complete yet. The colors are not complete. They're kind of off because I have to remap everything. This is the whoops, that's the example from OpenQuest. I've got that open as well. This is actually the sprite I've drawn. It's not perfectly color mapped yet, so I ended up with this because I've not worked with SCUNK or with Scum. I mean, it's Scum. It's basically a refactoring of Scum. But yeah, I've not worked with this in a while, so the thing is, you have to actually, when you start a sprite, any character sprite, what you have to do is you have to choose an indexed mode, and actually, no, the way I usually do it is I'll start with this, just a default RGBA, and a bit large, but whatever. And then I would change to indexed. Just a second. No, sorry. Wait, just wait a sec. That's not correct either. I was actually starting a new one, but why wasn't it showing up? Normally with indexed, you get the. Okay, that's strange to be honest. Oh wait, no, never mind. The way I've done it before is doesn't matter really. I can actually change that here later, and then what you do is you make a new palette from sprite, and this one you limit to 32 or to either 32 or 16 because that's what's supported for character sprites. And then you'll load in the palette. Palette is under verbs. Okay, then you have the entire palette. Oh wait, actually no, that's even. Sorry, I'm still tired a bit. What you can do then is you can copy this in. Well, it doesn't have a palette now. Whatever. So just trim it, up it. Right. What you can do now is pull the palette. We are actually, the way I've ordered it, this is the palette for the text, for all the text, and also for the cursor. And this is the sprite, the character sprite palette, which I'm still working on. All of these palettes are still being defined. I just copied them over from OpenQuest. And these 2 rows are for inventory items. I'm basically doing what Monkey Island 2 did. They're organized in there as well. But we can take that palette and then we can copy this palette over, or not. Why not? Oh, strange. Okay, cool. And then we can limit this palette. Now we can remap it, and now something should happen, but I don't know why it didn't. Now it did. Okay, cool. And actually, yeah, we are. Okay. It actually looks a bit better than what I had before, interestingly. Oh yeah, because I've already done that before with the mapping. So now there's a bit more color here than that was here originally. I mean, this design is also kind of nice. It does look kind of nice in game, but I think I'm going to use more detail and more coloring and more shadowing. So, yeah, it does have a bit more definition now. So, yeah, I need to basically remap everything because when I started this, I did not map it to the proper row. So the colors are in there, but they're all over the place. I forgot that you actually can't use the entire room palette. You have to use parts of this palette, just 2 rows, 32 colors max, and basically what this does is when it's compiled, it's creating. Let me see where I have it. There. So it's creating this bun brush animated in it, and that is being created from the SCOST. The SCOST is basically it contains all your it's a basically a written format, a code format um, of creating costs for the of costumes for the actual character. And this is what it ends up after encoding. Um, so this is the final file, which is exactly the same as it is for any SCUNK game in version 5 or 6. After 7, we've got, or with 7 rather, you've got a cost, which is a different format. But yeah, this is how you define it usually. And you see here, what I have to do is, so this does use these palettes only these 32 colors. But when we define it, which I get is a bit asinine to be honest, but it's how it works. You have to give the compiler, the custom compiler, the index from the room palette, so from the full palette, which is a 192 by 223. So, right. And this is basically the hotspot of that character. It's not the position in the room. The position in the room is set programmatically. What this does is basically just setting a hotspot. Right. Which probably should be bigger now because all of this is copied over from OpenQuest. You have different character sizes, so but yeah, it doesn't really matter. So this is really simple right now. It gets more complicated later, which I'll show off later when I'm actually this far in. But basically, you have a picture, and then you can use the picture in the animation. And since I only have one picture, I'm just using it for all of them. But later on, you can use wildcards, and then you can have like instead of stand as, you can have stand as 1, stand as 2, and so on. And then you can use that in here as just one command, and it basically does the animation automatically. So that's really cool. Yeah, that's that part as far as that goes. Now I actually wanted to show off how I did the room. Still totally black, and there's only like one box that's covering the entire room. Um, let's see. Okay, so this is the editor. The way we load this editor is we load this program box edit minus image, and then we give it a path to the room's background image to the bitmap. And then this pops up, and still need to create myself a cheat sheet because it's not that great. There's no menu or anything. I'm actually going to replace that program at some point. It's GTK2 based, so it's quite old. The way this works is you can zoom in with plus, you can zoom out with minus. And since I only have a black background here, if I want to create a box, you only need one since it's black background. So I press B on the keyboard, letter B, nothing else. And what I can do with the right mouse click, I can select all of these. And once I've selected all of these, I can move these elements. There you go. And then I actually have to select all of them again with the right mouse button, or I can drag them with the left again. So if I don't do it like this, then yeah, as you can see, if I don't move and if I don't select them all, then kind of warping again. So I have to select them all at once. Kind of get deselected again when you drag them once, so it's not ideal, but it works, sort of. Okay, and then once I'm done, I can just hit Control S, and then I can save them. And I can actually save them on my thingamajig. I usually save them in rooms, and then I use room name, and instead of bitmap, I use box. That's how that works. So quite easy. And then usually when you have a full room, you can have multiple boxes. You can have boxes everywhere, whatever you'd like to do. Of course, now the boxes are in a bigger box, so it's deselect. Right. Well, that's kind of buggy. I've actually never. Okay, that works. But yeah, you can have pretty much infinite boxes here. And you can also have scaling boxes, which are important, of course, for you can have different planes, you can have scaling boxes, and the scaling boxes are, of course, important when you have rooms and your character is supposed to get smaller because SCUNK does the scaling automatically if you define the scaling boxes correctly. And then you also have boxes for ignoring scaling. So that's cool. Then you have flip boxes, which kind of flip. So you could, I guess, you could use that for like a mirror labyrinth, for could potentially use this for like sort of a just a reflection effect. I would assume. I've not tried it yet, but I assume you can use it for a reflection effect because you can flip the actor and then maybe you can render it twice, so you'd have a nice reflection effect. So that's that tool. It's not perfect, but it's quite easy to use. Hotspots you actually do programmatically. You don't need to do them in here. It's a bit like you have to tinker a bit with it. Positions, just like I did with the verbs before. It's not perfect. Again, it's old technology. I'm clearing that up. I'm documenting everything. So gonna introduce new formats. Maybe have a video format because um, Smosh, which was used with SCUNK version 7. First of all, it was only used in Full Throttle and The Dig and Monkey Island, Curse of Monkey Island. But it's also like, first of all, it's not available because I'm using version 6, not version 7. And it's also quite old. It's still a beautiful format, but there's probably some patent on it that is still actually valid. The iMuse patent actually expired a while ago, so that is pretty much up for grabs. I think Smosh is still the Smosh video format is still actually patented. And there's better formats as well, so that is one thing to consider. Um, Anyhow, I'll just quit out of here. Need to save. And yeah, this will get a better palette and animations, of course. I've actually decided tomorrow I'm going to work on this with some programmer art. I can actually work on this faster than I'm currently doing. Menu again, pretty much very basic menu. Pretty much exactly the same as in Day of Tentacle. just that it's not fully functional yet. There's actually that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Yeah. Saving and loading would work. Should work at least. Go here and load. Yeah, that works perfectly fine. Let's try that again. Yeah, saves the position, saves everything. Quite easy, quite not a complicated matter at all. What I also want to do is, again, I changed the aspect ratio, so this is unfortunately kind of bleeding into here. Again, probably smaller font is the solution. I don't know yet. I mean, it's not a big font to begin with. We'll see. Yeah, but I think I can save like a line down here at least, 1 or 2 pixels down here, and yeah, it's gonna be a bit tough. I don't know yet. I could place, maybe I could place it here somewhere, or maybe down here. I don't know. I mean, there's space left, and I'll probably have less verbs for the second character when I actually introduce it. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll have some space. Although that would take the whole thing. Use with is also a thing. Forgive Plush Bunny too, so that okay, that wouldn't fit in there. Yeah, resolution wise, I'm not yet sure how to do this, but I actually have a MIDI musician now who's gonna compose some nice music for my game. It's gonna be Christmassy. Theme of the game again is Dunning-Kruger effect, and the plot line for my game is a school of animals, and they're all kind of cocky. This is also a thing in SCUNK that I'm probably going to disable for the final game. It happens when you use the first slot and you have autosave enabled. Doesn't matter, honestly. So now it would have the autosave in there. Interestingly enough, it doesn't. Strange. Well, but I'm disabling autosave because I don't think it makes sense for an adventure game, to be honest. People know how to save usually. It's not like a shooter or something where you need to generally save a lot. But yeah, it's gonna be a Christmassy game. The plot line is they're cocky animals. They get locked into school because they're snowed in, and our main character, Bunbrush, is snowed in. So is snowed in with them, but she's the only one who's smart enough to like find her way out of the whole situation, despite her fellow students and the teacher constantly maligning her. So I think that's gonna be an interesting way, and I'm gonna add some stuff, as you will see in a second. I'm gonna add a lot of kind of in jokes from Monkey Island, maybe some other LucasArts games. So the last part before I kind of quit out on this video for tonight, it concerns translations or text in general. So the way I'm dealing with this is I have for this game, for this part of the game, maybe later on if I actually end up making this into a full game, I'll have translations. Then they will all sit in here in text, ENDEFR whatever dot SCH, and SCH is of course the scum header format or skunk header format. And basically, I define these as strings, and then I can pretty much use these if we look here. What I've done here actually, I've closed the game. I should have shown off. I guess I can show this off for a sec. So this is only for right-click testing now. Obviously, that won't be the full game. But yeah, I've added this here, and now she's saying, "Tell me about SCUNK." It's gonna be a little inside joke for people who know about Monkey Island and Loom, their connection. So my game will kind of talk about my SCUNK engine a little, and I haven't finalized the format yet. My idea is to basically have D obviously stands for dialogue, opt stands for option, and then the character is gonna be Cobb. It's gonna be a spider actually with an eye patch. And then since this is pretty much the first ever dialogue option, it's gonna have a 0 there. That's how you define the stuff for dialogue options. Let's define another one while we add it. The name is Bun Brush Driftwood. Space pirate. Right. So it's just a little Easter egg character I'm putting in there. And then again, I'm not really sure what I would. So I'm gonna put all of these things in here. And then another block, maybe, I don't know, response, Cobb. And then I would I'm actually not sure if this is large enough. I'm a bit larger. So that's where it gets a bit tricky, maybe. Because I know I should have multiples, so maybe do like this. We make that for one more. God. I'm not actually sure I will run a Patreon for this, but it's just what it is. Right. So and now if I wanted to call these, of course, I would have to have multiple um, actor say commands. I don't have an actor for it yet. I would have multiple actor say commands, and then a line in between to actually wait for input or for the lines to be said. There's like an automatic timing sort of in the engine that does it based on the length of text and the text speed that's being set. So pretty much a lot of that stuff just works automatically, which is really nice. Even a lot of modern engines do it like that. So, but yeah, that's basically it for now. I think that's a good thing. Opt res. Now I just need to like. Obviously, that would be the response. Now I need another 3-letter abbreviation for the actual for the ego character. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll just use ego to be honest. No, actually, that's totally unnecessary because no, never mind because that's already covered here. I mean, the character would only say what you select naturally, so it's already covered by opt. Yeah, I think the design should work nicely. Um, it's definitely superior to what I've seen with Dolores, to be honest. Um, the Dolores thing, the way they do it is they have parts of the text, and then they have the translation. The TSV, it's sort of like a CSV but with tabs. Um, so it's like they have an ID, a numerical ID, and then they have the text, usually in English, and then they have the translation, and for the English files, of course, also the English text. So really confusing and kind of long, and I'm not sure how this even works long term because I would get crazy mad if I had to be a programmer in that project with the Dolores engine, which is, of course, a version of the engine used for Thimbleweed Park and Turn to Monkey Island. I mean, I'm not going to question Ron Gilbert because he's pretty much a coding god, akin to John Carmack. um, but yeah, it's kind of like I could see this getting maddening if you have a lot of text. So even in the demo project, in the Dolores demo project that he released on GitHub a couple of years ago, there's so much text and it's all numerical. It starts at I believe 1,000. Uh, I would get crazy with all these numbers. So, but yeah, that's pretty much for it for now. Um, yeah, I guess I'll show off more tomorrow once I'm a bit further ahead. Um, oh yeah, also PlayStation 5 Pro. um, there's still a lively discussion about all of these uh, specs that are out now, and even Digital Foundry is kind of questioning it, like the wisdom of releasing this console. And what as a little indie developer would that still has to prove himself, to be honest. What kind of pisses me off a bit is that Mark Cerny is like saying in his presentation, in his little, you can't really call it a technical presentation. It's more a an advertisement, um, commercial. Um, he's like saying that a lot of developers asked for a more powerful PlayStation 5, and from what I can tell, it's pretty much a lie. Because quite frankly, a lot of people I've spoken to in the community, and a lot of people that went to GDC this year in March, all of these people, like no matter the studio size, all of them detested the idea of a PlayStation 5 Pro. Um, they wanted more time. They wanted a better optimized SDK. They wanted better documentation. They just wanted a better way to optimize things. Like usually, console developers strive to get the most out of the hardware. They don't really want a new piece of hardware all the time because it takes a lot of time to get used to these SDKs. It's not like PC game development. It's not like you can drag along using the same programming tools, the same compiler for like 10 years or 20 years, like they've done on PC. It takes a lot of time to get used to all these new libraries. Xbox is a bit easier because it has DirectX, which is pretty much industry standard still. Um, hate it, like it or hate it, but it's still industry standard. Um, Personally, I'm more of a fan of OpenGL myself, and I've tried learning Vulkan for a bit a couple of years ago. Never actively used it. Still a fan of OpenGL. Still working with that mostly, and WebGL, even though there's no WebGPU, which is more of a Vulkan-based thing. But yeah, the point is, developers on console, they already have a short time to get used to hardware, and you can tell often that most of the friggin' programming tricks only get discovered long after the hardware gets abandoned. So they're already kind of ticked off, and they don't want to have to start all over. And also, the problem with the PlayStation 5 Pro situation is it takes more work now. Because now, the thing is, what Mark Cerny said is not necessarily true. So, say you have a game running at 30 FPS on a PlayStation 5, it won't magically run at 60 FPS, at proper 60 FPS all the time. Um, so, developers, they could, of course, uncap the frame rate, but then there might be micro stuttering. So even if the game runs close to 60 FPS on a PlayStation 5 Pro, it might drop to 50, it might drop to 58, it might drop even to 45. So it's not that easy. You can't just fucking sorry for the F word again. Habit. um, you can't just uncap the frame rate. So you might end up in a situation where programmers are just gonna go for 30 FPS or 60 FPS and not change a lot of things at all because optimizing for the PlayStation 5 Pro is not gonna be automatic. It's not gonna be what Mark Cerny claims it's like. So, but yeah, I'm just gonna finish the video here and see you another time.